Apparently, I need I need some kind of handle. Lend this mic.
Yeah.
Mike works.
Yeah. Yeah, Mike.
Especially if you're like starting a channel.
It's before I moved out here, I was going to do a channel on all things e-commerce because in my normal day job, I have a software company that we do mostly for the web. So we do a lot of e-commerce stuff, and I was going to do an e-commerce channel, and I'd actually have like 50 or 60 different topics already listed out.
Wow.
Mostly eBay, some Amazon. And then, of course, when we decided to move, I'd switched into spending most of my time getting the house ready for sale. So I figured I'd wait till I got out here. And then, of course, I've been out here, a year and a half. And it's gotten, it was supposed to be kind of, once we got out here, I figured 6 months, and then at the beginning of 2020, things would kind of go and coast.
Yeah.
Of course, then COVID happened and everything.
And now nothing's coasting.
All bets are off, right? So,
yeah.
My regular software business, which, been around for 15 years, that we lost clients and we've lost 5 clients this year because of COVID because they just went out of business.
It's crazy.
One of our clients was they designed, manufactured, set up, and did tear down for expos. So there's no conferences going on anymore. They're all virtual. Yeah. So they literally had nothing, and they tried to switch over to make masks because they had they manufactured all the fabric and they had people in house that would sew all that stuff together and design it and build it, and they couldn't switch over quick enough, and so they went out of business. And then we had a company that we had for almost 10 years that serviced schools. They set up video streaming systems inside of school districts. And of course, schools aren't going back. So they thought they were going to try to pivot and serve the video directly to the students. But the problem is all of the servers were on location at the school systems. So it's one thing if you have like 50 classrooms streaming video. And actually, think about it. At one time, you might have a half a dozen classrooms are streaming something from the server inside the campus.
Yeah.
Well, now what happens when you send 1,000 students home and you say, "Oh, here, just let's have 1,000 students stream that same content."
Sure.
And now, of course, all the schools are freaking out, and it's like, well, of course, you guys aren't running like, 100 megabit connection or gigabit connection. You guys are running. You don't have enough bandwidth. So they tried to pivot, but they couldn't do it. So unfortunately, they, about that same time is when I started to get back into the online stuff. I'd never completely shut it off, but it was, maybe would have like 5 or 10 things listed at once. But it was a nice thing to fall back on when everything kind of took a dump in March.
No doubt. Hey, I'm going to take a second and say hey to some people that are in the chat. So Louis, first one in the house, I appreciate it. He got here before I did. So if you're still here, Louis, thanks for being here. And Joe Deals, man, I was checking to see, have you got everything moved in or not? I know that Joe moved. He was Sam's somewhat neighbor, but he's headed south for the winter. So he's moving on down. And Tim, thanks for being here. Jeremy, those guys are definitely headed south for the winter down in Florida, part-time now. So Sumu Thrift, Marcus, thanks for coming in. Sal, thanks for being here. Appreciate all you guys. We were just talking just briefly, but our guest tonight is Mike. Mike's actually a local guy to me, or he is now. He's a transplant outer banker. So he's down here with us. And he actually runs a local thrift store here and sells on several platforms as far as e-commerce. Also, like he was talking there briefly, and he does some computer behind the scenes software and that kind of stuff. So he comes with a wealth of knowledge. So we appreciate him for taking the time to come on with us tonight. and talk a little bit about what he does. And if you guys, as always, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. I do see also Mr. Bill coming in the house. Ken, thanks for being here. Appreciate you as always. And Angie Resales. Angie, got your box headed out here very quickly. I got it all packed up, ready to hit the post in the AM. So I do thank you for supporting Jennifer last night. That was great. So yeah, appreciate that. So if you got questions in the chat, please drop them. Mike, so I know there's people that are just coming in. I know there's people just coming in. So let's just, I guess, kind of rewind, take them back to the beginning of your reselling journey, if you don't mind.
Sure. I started selling on eBay 23 years ago, back when it was mostly collectibles and Beanie Babies and things that people found in their garage and were trying to get rid of. And I remember being able to go to categories and being able to see, being able to filter, like show me everything that had was in like the last 24 hours, and you could go through the entire list in like 2 minutes.
Oh, that's crazy.
It was so weird. Like I remember refreshing, like trying to see like new things that were going to get listed, and sometimes it'd be 5 or 10 minutes before something new would show up in the category. Then I started selling. I think the first thing I sold was a computer game for Commodore 64.
Oh, wow.
Like an old stockpile of games that I had when I had switched over to the Amiga and left the 64 behind. I think it was the first thing that I sold. But I sold a ton of I quickly went to like the thrifting and the garage sales. And back then there was no competition, with garage sales. People just thought you were strange when you would walk in there and, drop $50 at a garage sale and buy like a random collection of stuff that they had nothing to do with each other. Some people came looking for video games, some people came looking for clothing, and I just walk out with like 3 bags of just random stuff. And I would kind of come and go, depending on my day job. When I had kids, it kind of slowed down a little bit, but I've always sold on eBay. And I'd say maybe 5 or 6 years ago, starting doing Amazon fulfilled by merchant first, and then did some FBA. Did a few white label products, which it's so tough. It's tough to find a product. It's tough to get it listed on the first page, and then you better just run it till the wheels fall off, which is a month until you got enough people that have flooded the category or flooded the same product. And, you have to be real careful about restocks. You think you're doing really great, and you do a restock order for 200 units. And by the time they arrive, 100 other people have come and they're selling the exact same thing with a different white label brand. So I haven't done a lot of that stuff in the last 2 years, just because it seems like to do really well at white label FBA, you have to be all in. You can't spend time doing 5 different markets. It's like you're either Amazon white label FBA or you're not. Yeah. So I like eBay. eBay is my favorite by far. I think it's you have the least I think you have the least amount of risk of getting tossed off eBay. I know Etsy, random bans are just notorious. Amazon is tough. I mean, I'd had my Amazon account suspended, where I'd ship, when I was doing fulfilled by merchant, I'd do 1,000. I had a great rating. I'd ship 1,000 things on time. And then I remember I got bronchitis, and I went like 3-4 days and I didn't ship anything. And I just sending people like, hey, look, I'm like terribly sick. And they were cool with it. And then a week later, I get a notice from Amazon. It's like, hey, what's up with your, you have an unusually amount of orders that hadn't been shipped. And it kind of soured me a little bit. But I always come back to eBay. I love eBay.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I mean, I think there's a lot of areas that you can look at and say, eBay isn't perfect. We all know that they have their downfall, but I mean, if you look at everything, Amazon has all that screwy stuff that people do to each other to like bottom out your pricing, or
Oh yeah,
there's all kinds of games played. Like, occasionally you have buyers on eBay that do weird stuff too, but not to that extent, not at all, really.
you just need, all you need to do on eBay, if to be really successful on Amazon, I think you have to be about 25% criminal, because
Yeah.
you have to be okay with just filing false claims against your competitors and saying there's copyright issues, or because Amazon they never side with you. They side with the person who's making the complaint. And it takes forever to come back from, and you're sending email after email and no one wants to talk to you. You got to do everything over email. And it's very tough. Even when you get somebody on the phone, they'll say, oh, well, you have to send this to so-and-so. And it's just, it's not worth it. And people can own, I was selling things that, without giving away what it was, there were things in the public domain that were perfectly legal to sell. Now, what you would do to protect yourself, let's say I was selling a picture of, here's a good example. Let's say I was selling NASA pictures, which, because we pay for them, they're public domain. You can go take a NASA print or get a NASA image, print it, and you can sell it legally because it's a public domain image. So how you protect yourself on Amazon is you get yourself go buy yourself, a $2 barcode, slap the barcode, get your own ASIN, and then if somebody else sells that exact image, they don't care. All you have to do is say, they're violating, here's my product, here's theirs, I've got an ASIN, I've got a barcode, right? And Amazon would just automatically send that person, like, hey, you've got a copyright issue, even though there is no copyright because it's a public domain image. So that kind of stuff is the stuff that is where eBay, I've had so many times when I've thought I was totally screwed, got on the phone, talked to an eBay rep, an hour later it's solved.
Yeah.
They've taken care of me, and I know it's because they pull up the account, they see I've been there selling for over 20 years. They've made, I can't even calculate how many tens or 100,000 plus fees over that time. Yeah. So that is nice. I mean, they do take care of the buyer, and times when I've gotten back, return where I thought for sure, it's not the same product, or it's the brick in the box. And eBay one time took care of me at the tune of like $250.
Man.
It was like, hey, don't worry, we're going to cover this. Sounds like this is some fraud, and we'll investigate it. And I was shocked that they had done that. So, I mean, that goes a long way with me.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I know, one of the things I was talking to someone here very recently about, and they said they take extra precautions with anything and have he actually called it a burner account. I mean, obviously it's not a burner account, but he's like, if there's something questionable that I'm like, I don't know, how that's going to go. He's like, I'm going to put it on there. Like if it's something on the verge of being a problem.
Well, that's the other great thing is having multiple accounts on Amazon. You have to get pre-approved,
right?
And you have to have a valid reason, and it normally involves a registered trademarked brand. If you have two trademarked brands and they can verify it, they'll sometimes let you split that. But that's the great thing about eBay. I have a burner. I guess it's a good name for it. It's a burner because I have an account where I ship things that don't include tracking.
Yeah,
because they're lightweight and they're cheap. Yeah, right?
That's it.
I don't want to ruin my main account. It's hard enough, keeping 100% rating, but it's almost you can't get top rated seller unless you're shipping everything with tracking, right?
Right.
But that's but that's great. I mean, eBay lets you have. I don't even know if there's a limit. I know people that have 5-6 accounts, and I think they're only limited by PayPal because PayPal will limit the number of accounts that you have as long as you have different email addresses and different. I think once you burn like through 7, you can do it, but you have to get another bank account. There's ways to do it, but
yeah, just a little bit more to it. That's for sure. Yeah. Hey, Nikki T, thanks for coming in. Harry Humstone, thanks you for being here as well. Guys, we're talking to Mike, who, like I said, owns that local thrift store, but he's been doing e-commerce for a long time. So if you guys have any questions for him, feel free to do so in the chat. So, man, I kind of got one, and I hadn't really talked to you about this, even though I've talked to you multiple times in person and on the phone and stuff. But so what made you guys think Outer Banks and buying a thrift store? Like, what does that process look like?
Well, we've been coming out here for 10 or 11 years. And, when it rains, there's not, everybody spends most of their time outside when you're here.
Yeah.
When it rains, my wife and my daughter would run the circuit and go shopping, and they love thrifting.
Uh-huh.
And there's for the size of the island, there's like 5 stores.
Yeah.
Which is actually a lot.
Yeah.
Back where we're from in Illinois, our town was about 150,000, and I think we had 3 in the whole, and that was counting the Goodwill. So anyway, about 2 years ago, we found that there was an ice cream shop that was for sale, and it had been here for 30 years. The family were getting out of it, and I just was kind of joking. I said, wouldn't it be fun to go sell ice cream at the beach? And only be open like 9 or 10 months out of the year. It would be like being retired, even though we're pretty far from being retired. And so I contact the broker and signed the NDA. But by the time that I'd gotten the financial, somebody already made an offer, and it was bought, and I lost it. So we kind of forgot about it. And then the same broker called me back like 6 months later and said, "Hey, I've got a couple other places that are available, and one of them is actually still for sale here." And then the other one was the thrift store. And joked with my wife. I said, "You want to go run a thrift store?" Because my wife, she had a small history in retail, but she was doing childcare. And she said, "Oh yeah, sure. How we can do that?" And I can work from anywhere. I have a software company that, as long as I just need a computer and an internet and phone, and what better place to work than here? And I do a lot of. I have clients that I've never met in person anyway. So what's the difference? So met with the owner of the thrift store out here and kind of negotiated back and forth, and it took about 9 months to close the deal because it wasn't like we had really planned on moving 1,000 miles away, coming from the Midwest. But last June 1st, we took it over, and it was actually been a blessing because had I been back in Illinois and COVID happened and I lost the client base that we did, it would have been tough to weather this without a serious financial stress. This doesn't make a lot of money out here, but it was enough to keep us alive throughout the past 6 months, and so that worked out great.
That's awesome.
I think my wife, my daughter gets the better deal. They work inside. I get to run around and do heavy furniture pickups off 3 flights of stairs, and so sometimes I think they get the better deal. But I could use the exercise anyway, sitting at a desk. So I don't regret it. Love it out here.
That's awesome. Craig wants to know what kind of software.
We do mostly for the internet. The name of the company is Ignite Solutions. We've been around since 2005, but I worked with the people that I work with. My partner who actually lives in Ohio. I see him like once or twice a year. I worked with him at a different company from 1998 or 99, and I knew him. That's how I knew him. And then after 2000, you couldn't. They were hiring people so quick, and companies were popping up so fast. Small companies were merging, big companies were buying little companies. And in 2005, a big company in Chicago bought like a dozen small development companies in a year, and then couldn't figure out how to make it all work and laid off like 50 people one day. And almost everybody that I came with got laid off that day except for one person. And when we left, we walked down to the bar where it was in downtown Chicago is where the office was. We walked down to a bar and we just started calling clients. And the good thing was all the clients, they'd only worked with us, even though he had moved over to this bigger company. They had no idea. They had no contacts with the company that bought us. So when we left, we were actually billing for ourselves that day, and we took as many clients as we could with us. In fact, we have a few clients right now that we took with us 15 years ago when we left. So that worked out really well. I mean, it was one of those, opportunity things that it was scary. My kids were small at the time. Wife was a little freaked out. She's like, "What do you mean you're going to go into business for yourself?" But I mean, we already had clients, so it was really, it was lucky. There's a lot of luck there. So I've been working on my own at home, remote for 15 years, 14, 15 years, 15, 16 years now.
So you're like, whatever.
Yeah. So really for me, it's just another, making a switch to whether I spend the majority of my day doing, programming, or, half my day doing programming and then, doing eBay, or, it's already the same thing. It's just another hour and figuring out how to make money during that hour. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So he's a lot like you, Sam. Got about 50 irons in the fire.
Oh, you have to. You have to. Everybody. If you ever meet somebody that's successful at any level, they don't just have one source of income.
Exactly.
They've got. You have to have a backup, especially nowadays. I mean, with this COVID thing, like I said, if I didn't have my online stuff, if I didn't have the store, and if I didn't have my software business, it would have been tough to weather it with just a single one of those.
Mm-hmm.
All three of those, it kind of gives you a little bit of security. I know a lot of people that try to make that jump between like, oh, I want to give up my day job and just do reselling. I don't know, man. That's a tough jump unless you're forced into it.
Yeah.
Because there's a certain amount of security that I have knowing that I don't have to necessarily find things to sell online for a week or two and I'll still be okay.
Yeah.
Because you know the grind. It's a grind, man. It's and the bigger you get, the more things you sell, the more things you got to list. And if you're selling 10 items a day, you better be listing 10 items a day or more, right? Or you're just going to decline. And people get complacent. And I've known a lot of people who've gone through the grind, and then they get too big and then they burn out. It's tough. It's like, how do you scale? We do a lot of my day job. We do a lot of consulting with clients that start small and then they get to a point. It's like, how do we scale? How do we get past that point? Do we go to a fulfillment center and stop doing shipping altogether? And maybe that's an option. And we just carried a client through with that because they couldn't figure out, how do we ship, 250 items a day? And they can hire somebody, but it turned out that you could use a fulfillment center. They might charge you $1.50 a piece. But what also the fulfillment center is getting is they're getting the super commercial plus, where they're getting prices that you cannot get on shipping because they're shipping 5-6 million packages a year. So make no doubt. I mean, if you've ever seen the commercial plus, it's crazy. You're shipping like stuff that would cost us like $3.30, $3.50 for a first class. They're shipping for $1.80. When you see those guys online that have 1 million rating, and you're wondering, like if you've ever looked at replenishables, it's like, how in the hell are they selling a $6 item with tracking and making money? It's because they're paying a third on the tracking, on the shipping.
Yeah.
And that's a great. I don't know if you guys have ever thought about. I see some guys online talk about it. I can't remember his name. Daily Refinement?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. He's doing like 10,000 items.
Yeah.
I think he's doing 10,000.
10K by the Bay, that's what it used to be called.
Is that what he's called?
That's what he used to. Because that was his goal, was to have 10,000 items in his store.
Well, the only way that he could do it is, and he leads into it a little bit if you watch a few of his things, is some of that is replenishables. You can only get to that point because I think I shipped like 5 things today, and it was like I didn't have the right box for 2 of them, and I'm cutting boxes down, and it's like it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
You could have as many boxes stocked up as possible, And unless you're selling, with replenishables, it's great. It's like, oh, I just find like 5 different boxes, and they mostly are priority boxes. But that's always tough. Is like, how do you scale, right?
That's always like when you get past the just, hey, I'm going to do this very part-time, and you start looking at how do I do this for an income, like for a substantial income. I know that's the question, and me and both of you guys have talked separately, but I've talked to Mike some about this. I've talked to Sam a lot about this. Like that was our ongoing conversation there for about 2 months. Was say how do we get from A to B? Like by doing C or whatever we need to do. Like what's the next step? Yeah. So like there's got to be something to it, because you can. Like you reach a limit to where, hey, if I continue to go down this same track, I'm not going to, there's no way I can get ahead. Like I can only list so many items a day by myself. I can only ship so many items a day by myself. I can only find so many items a day by myself. So like, unless you have what you're saying, either replenishable or you have help. Like,
well, the first step, I think the most logical step is to get somebody to come in and ship.
Yeah.
Right. That's the thing that you don't really need to train anybody for. Everything else is such a hassle, such a problem. How do you get somebody to get somebody to list for you?
Yeah.
That's a tough one, because they got to know a lot about a lot of things. They have to know about what they're listing. They have to know maybe specifics about the item, unless you're all just like punching in barcodes and using defaults. If it's all like off the shelf items, but if you're doing picking stuff, there's no way you can have somebody list for you unless they know what they're doing.
If you had somebody doing, like I do a lot of electronics, like I couldn't trust just anybody to do that, because you got to test. You got to make sure that you got a good comp, because there's fake comps out there.
Oh yeah,
certain items like you're looking at, it's like, what's the difference in this one and the 10 others that sell, like that sold the thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's like the Daily Refinement, Chris, he's got a couple of ladies who he hires to basically shop for him and list. He pays them for, for their time. But like, these are 2 people who are, they're interested in clothing. They enjoy the buying experience. They don't mind the listing, and they just don't want to hang on to it anyway. So it's easier for them to go out, do the little work of listing it, and then, shipping it off to Chris and letting him deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
So Jeremy obviously asked the question, can you hire someone on a commission basis to sell? That might be an option. Like if you could take somebody under your wing and be like, hey, I'm going to teach you how to sell, but I want to cut, or you can get a cut of my inventory that you do. I mean, if you're finding enough stuff to do so. Speaking of finding stuff, hey, Brian, Mr. Bislot, thanks for the super chat. And he obviously, you want to talk about somebody who can find something to sell, that would be Brian, Mr. Bislot. If you've not checked him out, he has got Mike, he's the guy I told you about in Pennsylvania that has like millions of items in inventory right now. Yeah. It's like 170K in his eBay store. Like he's he started doing auctions. Brian, I know that you're what is it, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday? And maybe there's a gap in between, or I don't have the exact right days, but I know that, man, I know that you are doing those. Now he's doing basically wholesale auction stuff. Like that, he said he's going from Mr. Buys a lot to Mr. Sells a lot. So it's one of them things. So that he would be. I've seen some of the stuff that's been auctioned out of his place. There's definitely a lot of it. And Jeff's came in the house there, eBay Addicts. Thank you for being here as well. So have you ever thought about that, Mike, as far as like putting somebody on a commission basis? I know like with having your store, you do have employees already.
Yeah, I think the first, what I would do is I would just incorporate the shipping to be done by probably an employee that I'm already paying. And it's the lowest bar, eventually it's like, here's how to pick, I could teach somebody in an hour everything that they need to know. There's some other intricacies, perhaps, that take a little bit longer, maybe a week or two, about, is this something that you run through like, cubic pricing?
Yeah, right.
Is this something that, what's the difference in a regional A, a regional B? eBay is not always the best deal.
Mm-hmm.
I suspect that eBay, there's a reason I think that cubic pricing is not available through eBay. It's because I think that they're probably getting cubic pricing, and they're probably making money off of that.
Yeah.
I don't know that for sure, but if they aren't, they should be firing somebody who decided against that. I mean, I would suspect that's probably what they're doing, is they're probably making the money on the, on the gap between cubic pricing and
Tommy. I don't know if you follow Tommy Bernard. He's speculated that before. I've heard him say, like Tommy Bernard, like
I heard him.
He has a reselling show Thursday and Sunday nights with Uniquely Me Tracy, and he talks about it a lot. How if you select calculated shipping like everybody else, you're probably losing more money in the long run than if you were to just lean on cubic shipping from a pirate ship.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference. I mean,
oh man.
The great thing is some of those the non-flat rate priority boxes that you get are great for that. A lot of people don't even know some people might not even realize that you can use those when you use pirate ship. But I can't remember which one it is. There's two of them. There's one of them that's like that's like the largest number one box you can get. And I have to look up which one it is now. But there's two of them. They're non-flat rate priority mail boxes that are perfect for the cubic rate.
The number 7 box is awesome.
Is it the 7? Is that the 7? The one that's the 1?
It's 12 by 12 by 8 is the
that's the one. That's the largest number 1 that you can get. I think is the 12 by 12 by 8.
Dude, what was it? It's $20 to ship it. What is it? It was like $30 something for me to ship a package. I actually just did this the other day, and then cubic, it was $8.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Yeah. Have you ever done the cubic with poly bags?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's even. I mean, I saved an extra $1 doing it with like a poly bag.
I've been looking for like a 16 by 16 poly bag, and I can't find them.
Yeah,
and I'm sure somebody makes them because they all make them within there's like a set, like a definition of sizes.
Let's see. I'm pretty sure that's what I got.
18 by 18 is the largest per size for the poly bags.
Yeah.
If you can get one that's right at that threshold,
I've got them 18-24, but
it's got to be 18 is the largest size. So I think the closest one I found is something like a 15 by, I don't know if there's a 15 by 19, which is the one that's right outside of it. But remember
the square.
Well, remember, it doesn't mean that you can't cut them down and make them 18. So what I would do is I would get one that's I think it was like a 15 by 19 or 14 by 19. That's 14 by 19.
Yeah.
And then I was cutting, just to be safe, 1.5 inches off the bottom and just taping the bottom back up. Never had a problem.
19's your limit, though. You're safe. It's 18?
It's 18. They changed it.
Oh.
It used to be 19, which made that poly bag perfect.
Yeah.
Son of a gun.
And they changed it to 18, I don't know, maybe 1.5 years, 2 years ago, which totally screwed me at the time because I had a whole ton of those. And I'm like, well, I'll just cut them. So I just cut the bottom off and boom. Because it has to be, and you can't, there's something else, you can't fold it because they have to be able to identify what the size of the bag is. You can't take it and fold it over and tape it like sometimes you do if the bag, you want to put like a small item in a big bag. Anyway.
It's funny because I do that all the time, and nobody fussed at me.
Yeah, I've never got caught on it. Like I've actually done it with a trash bag.
Well, because there are a couple of times where I shipped out, and this was early on, and I didn't know that it was based off the size of the bag, not the box. So I was like, "Whoa, this big old bag fits, this box," and I shipped it off.
The funny thing is, if you put something in a box. And then put the box in the bag, you can sometimes get it cheaper by putting the box in the poly bag.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they're talking about. Like Jeremy and these guys is like wrap the box in the bag. It's funny because people always call it bag in the box, but it's actually box in the bag. It's what gets you cheaper.
Dude, it's like COVID, it's not okay to eat inside unless that inside is outside.
You're right.
Yeah, Jeremy sells a lot. He sells a lot on eBay. I don't know if you're familiar with him, Mike, but Jeremy, what the hell's man? He's been doing storage units. He's a long time eBay seller. Like,
and they don't, and your shop doesn't catch you because I've gotten. I tell you what, I've had to like shop. Luckily, I have 4 different post offices I can go to. The one in Kitty Hawk are a bunch of jerks. I have to drive down to Nag's Head because they were giving me problems on like these kind of things. These.
Oh yeah.
So these things, they're square, which means they're automatically a non-machinable letter. Okay. If they're a 1/4 inch, you can still get by as a non-machinable letter, but if they go up to 3/4 of an inch, they're a flat. People in Kitty Hawk bounced about 20 of these.
What?
They all showed up at my house because they all said that they were parcels at like $3 and some a piece. And I had to go down there and I thought I was going to wrestle the guy. I even printed out the rules from his own rate sheet and went in there and made him read the rules, and he still didn't agree. And if you go to one of the stores that has a kiosk, you ever been, post office, we don't have them here on the banks, but the ones that have the kiosks, the self-service kiosks, even if the self-service kiosks say those are first letter, non-machinable letter. And so I had to go down to Nag's Head, and I brought just one in there one day. And this big tall guy there, and I says, "What can I ship this? What can I ship this? Can I ship this as a letter?" And he looked at it and slid it through his little slot that he had that measures the width. He's like, "Oh yeah, this is a non-machinable letter. It's 85 cents." I'm like, so that's where I go to dump all the shorties now.
I know the postmaster there. He's a good guy. Yep. It's Mr. Garrison is his name.
But you realize you should be, for where you are, you probably should be writing down that you go to Kitty Hawk to drop your packages.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The only time I've ever used Kitty Hawk is sometimes on.
Eric, you use Kitty Hawk all the time because you write down your mileage, right?
Oh yeah, I got you. But I use it when I'm going out of town. Is when I'm dropping. But my local, like I don't get. I was talking to some guys the other day who get pickups, and they do that. Like they have pickups coming. But I was like, man, I've seen our little mail carrier here in Wanchee.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, if she did my pickup, like she'd have to go straight back to the post office.
Yeah, I kind of feel bad for him sometimes.
Yeah, and my guys are very easy on me, and I make it easy on them. I print the scan sheet every time. I just go in there and drop it, and like they let me do backdoor delivery and just roll a card out there for me, and I dump it in there and hand them the slip and roll on.
That was how it was at the back in Illinois, man. I miss those guys. I had a great relationship with them, and they just showed up and picked up every single day. They always knew when I had stuff going, or they just automatically showed up. I miss those guys. Out here, I've only done like the pickup twice, and I felt bad for them because they were already full.
Yeah. Usually, it's somebody's like tiny little car. It's just
that's the funny thing. Yeah, that's the funny thing. It's like cars that it's not even trucks sometimes.
Yeah. So Jeremy was talking about how they just cut plastic and they've never had a problem. Store Treasures Deanna said, "Can you cut an 18 by 18 clear poly?"
I don't see why not. The only thing that I know that they don't like that they specifically say that they won't take is you can't just wrap something in bubble wrap and tape and slap a label on it.
Oh yeah. Even though
however, you can do this. However, you can do this. You can take a garbage bag and put a giant bale of bubble wrap in the garbage bag and mail it that way, because that's how all my
Dude,
bubble wrap
I got bubble wrap the other day that was wrapped in and dude, it looked
garbage bag.
like the stuff like you use out of your kitchen, like that shrink wrap.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Oh, they
saran wrap over the bubble wrap.
They use the thick pallet wrap.
Yeah. But I was like, but it didn't feel as thick as pallet wrap. It felt like saran wrap out of your kitchen. Jeremy says that they prefer it to be white or black plastic. Hey, I did want to recognize Jennifer Hayes in the house. Do thank you for being here, Jennifer. And hope you looking forward to seeing what's going down with her. We had a big in the reselling community yesterday. We did a big benefit for Jennifer, and I just wanted to say thank you for all you do in everybody's chats. Jennifer was one of my first subs who continually shared my stuff everywhere, so I appreciate her. And we got Derek coming in the house. Richard's here. Kat coming in. Thank you, all you guys, for being here. We're here talking with Mike. He's one of my local thrift stores owners who's been a reseller for a long time himself. So feel free, if you have any questions for him, feel free to drop them in the chat. Thank you guys for all coming in.
I have a question for is it Jeremy? What Pails?
Yeah.
When he says, Jeremy, when you say you manufacture your own bags, are they still allowing you to do cubic pricing with? How do they know what size the bag is? I'm interested. I'd love to be able to do that. I've done that before with multiple. When you take like 2 poly bags and put something in 2 poly bags and just tape them together and ship it that way. But is he saying that he's been able to do cubic pricing with homemade poly bags?
I think that's what he's talking about, because when you were talking about that earlier, that's what he was saying, that he's never had a problem.
That's what he said.
Have you ever had anybody from USPS like double checking you ever use a big bag by accident?
What's that?
Have you ever had like anybody come back at you with the 2 dimensions like being off?
He said that they actually just measure the box.
I guess as long as what I understand is when I've gone in, whenever I've had it done or whenever I've done it, and I've only had it happen out here once where it got bounced back, and I went back in and I said the label clearly says that it's cubic pricing, but the problem was what he said he's done is they tape like you put it in the bag and then you tape the bag tight against the box inside.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I did. So what I had to do was he's like, oh no, you have to let us, we have to be able to measure the size of the bag in order for us to confirm the cubic rate. And I said, oh, I totally get it, because if I put it in the bag and I tape it all up, you have no idea what size it is. You only now see the size of the box. Yeah. And if you go off the box size, like I said, sometimes the bag's cheaper than the box.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm wondering, if he tapes it all up.
I wonder if that's God being a jerk, because honestly, I've done the same thing as Jeremy. Typically, when I put something in a bag, dude, I'll tell you what I use. I use those large lawn and leaf trash bags all the time. The black ones, I do that all the time. If it's bigger things, I want to wrap it just for the reason of keeping it waterproof.
But I'm talking, and you're still shipping it with cubic pricing?
Yeah. Oh. I've done it. I've cut those down and done it before. But I wonder if they make the box size. Yeah. Yeah, Derek's saying the same thing. He sells a lot as well. Fundamentals side hustling. He said he does the same thing. So what we're talking about, guys, is on Pirate Ship. You know how you can do box in a bag. Yeah, Jeremy's saying he thinks it's just the postal worker messing with you.
It could be. I've had to educate them on more than one occasion since I've been here.
Yeah, I've had a lady that works in mine who's not the postmaster, who's tried some mess with me before, but the postmaster come around and kind of laid it into her a little bit, said, hey, that's not how it works. Because you would think they'd want the bag taped to well,
that's what I would think,
so it don't hang up on stuff.
Yeah, less of a chance of getting damaged.
Yeah, it's like less of a chance of me filing an insurance claim on you, buddy.
Right.
Let's go on and set it up. Yeah, she weren't letting me take it. She said I couldn't cut a priority box. I was like,
that's a big no-no. That's a no-no.
I was like, I rebox with priority all the time there.
Do you remember back in the day when you used to be able to take the priority envelope, the cardboard envelope, and mutilate the crap out of it? And as long as you were able to get things all enclosed, nowadays they're all like they won't even let you. It has to seal. Before, you used to be able to do all sorts of funky stuff with it, and cut a gusset into the bottom, and I'll do all sorts of crazy stuff.
Well, I Frankenbox every day almost, like with the priority boxes. Because like golf clubs, you can't fit a whole golf club in one.
Oh, that's fine.
But then I cut the top of one and I stick it on top of the other one.
As long as you send it priority mail, you can do that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't do I tried one time because I didn't have a box. So I did try it one time, and they let me know I couldn't ship that first class. But then, obviously I had to do something like throw it in a bag. But after that, I hadn't really messed with that, trying to do that. But I do mutilate the priority boxes all the time, for sure. Let's see. Was there another question that came in? I know we were talking about shipping 101, 201, and 301. That we definitely, and I know
that's my favorite hack is shipping.
Yeah, I know because you've got something you told me the other day. What was the name of the company you're using for smaller items? Like, because some of these guys I think sell cards and stuff. So I know you're telling me.
I've used Sendle. I've used Pirate Ship. What's this Express? Orange. I use what is it? It's I just pull it up. I have it. It's on my taskbar. Orange. OrangeMailer.co.
There we go.
The cool thing about them is, I mean, they don't. It's really low feature, but what they let you do is they let you print first class letter rate labels with non-machinable bumps and some other features right off of your label printer, where none of the other ones will let you do it. You can only print like first class with tracking. They're the only ones that I've found where you can print a first class like non-machinable label right to the 4x6.
Yeah, that's what you were talking to me about, because like we were talking about how you could get a tracking on something small.
Well, the tracking that they put on there is like it's called it's like IVS something visibility. I can't remember exactly what it stands for. So the little barcode that you see pop that comes above the name, that actually does track certain scan points on a regular letter. And sometimes it even does track a delivery depending on where it's being delivered. Now, the user, the seller, or the buyer doesn't see that, but sometimes they'll contact me and say, hey, I don't even know where my thing's at. It's been like a week, and I can look up and I can say, oh, it's actually going to get delivered today. So they're already tracking non-trackable things. They just don't give you the ability. And, I heard I think you and I were talking about the possible 75-cent tracking that they would implement for cards.
Yeah.
I heard that it's probably just going to be for cards, which is unfortunate. Maybe they'll expand that. In other words, it's not going to be for small items other than collectible cards, from what I understand.
Well, I'm sure they're trying to do something to keep hold of that market, because that's blowing up right now. And people are like opening second stores. Like we know Rev Resell and some other guys that have opened second stores for like just what you're talking about, for non-trackable items, because it'll ding their big store. So it would only make sense for them to do that, to keep that business with them.
I mean, it's totally viable. I mean, I've been selling stuff that way for at least 10 years. And if every 20th item goes missing, what? You've saved yourself, a couple $100 by then.
Yeah.
By not using trackable. And the most thing is what I do is every time I will ship something, I'll send out a short little paragraph. I'll make sure in the listing it says this item is going to ship through first class non-trackable, blah, blah, blah. And then I used to get people hitting me after like 4 or 5 days. Hey, where's my item? But now everybody gets an email that says, hey, this is going to go non-trackable letter, just as it said inside of the listing. It's going to take probably 5 to 7 days, but it could take 10 to 14. And before the, with COVID and the election, stuff was taking like 10 days, but it's really reliable. I have not had very many things go missing this year, going non-trackable. You just have people who just get impatient, still after like 3 days, but it's totally worth it. I hope they do trackable low weight items. That would be great.
That'd be a great asset for, like you said, some of that super light stuff. I'm always blown away, and I know guys are doing something, like you had said, if you're selling 1 million items. Because sometimes I'll click on items, I was like, bro, how are you even shipping that? Like, I mean, you're selling something for $2. Like, how are you even shipping that?
Yeah, those I don't understand. Unless it's those guys are, what they're doing is they're just either trying to, when I'll do that, when I open up a new account, I'll sell things that I know are break evens just to get those numbers up. But yeah, you see those guys that have like, the 100,000 rating.
Yeah.
And they're still selling stuff. It's like, what are you making, a quarter? What's the point?
Yeah, I don't, I mean, obviously eBay's percentage on a quarter is nothing, like 2 cents. But
think about it. Well, it's PayPal. If it's
PayPal 30 cents. Yeah.
30 cents plus.
Yeah. Same with managed payments.
Oh, I'm glad I haven't moved over to there yet.
Yeah, I mean, they charge the same percentage, that 2.9 and 30 cents a transaction. But the good thing that managed payments does that it doesn't, if you sell multiples to the same person, that's one transaction, whereas PayPal, that's how many they bought. So it's a little bit better about that. But yeah.
How do you like managed payments?
I actually, man, I don't mind it because I used to have brick and mortar. I mean, you obviously have brick and mortar. You understand how credit card processing works. It takes a couple of days, Yeah. It's like a day or two. But once I was in it, I mean, it's funny now. Now I see it kind of on the back end, like what the deal is. Because at first I was like, man, I said, I didn't really notice it. But like I've tried to buy some stuff on eBay recently. And the people that don't have managed payments, I can't use my Apple Pay on their items. And use it on everything else. So it opens up some stuff for that. I have not had any problems. I like being able to know the money deposited in my account is my money. Like that makes from I know what my first big month with eBay, I guess, ignorance being bliss at the time when I got like that big bill, that first $1,000 bill, I was like, whoa, what's that about?
So, yeah. It's coming, but it still doesn't make it any better.
Yeah. You're like, man, I hope I have a good week. But
well, I mean, that's the good thing that's the other tough thing about Amazon. Once you realize when I was getting really deep in Amazon, and you realize that to really play ball, when you're waiting 2 weeks for your payments, and you say you have a product that goes really well, and you sell out before you get your payment, right? Yeah. And it's like when you're playing at that low level, it's like to do a reorder. It's like, oh man, I need the sales from all of my items to like keep my reorders coming.
Yeah.
And then you realize it's like, oh boy, if you're going to really want to do a lot of Amazon FBA, you better have some sort of reserve sitting there.
Yeah.
To be able to cycle it. And it was just, I had thousands of dollars just sitting there doing nothing. I'm like, I could be buying, other product and put it on eBay, and I get my money every day. It's easier to manage. So, but managed payments is fine if it's a day or two, I guess.
Yeah, it's not bad. Like I usually get only one that takes longer is coming out of the weekend, just like processing. I usually get that either Monday, middle of the night, or Tuesday morning early. Like it's usually when mine hits. But I've got some as the same day. They take your shipping out. So like if you're not selling consistently, obviously you're not going to be getting your money as quick. Or if you're like, say if your shipping time's way out, like I don't think you get paid as quick. Like, yeah, because they're taking your funds for shipping. Because I put mine on 3-day one time. And I did notice a little bit more of a delay. I guess they just want to make sure you've got enough money in limbo to pay for shipping.
Uh,
Otherwise, they will pay it out of your other alternate funding or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I haven't had any problems at all. I like that feature, that knowing that the money going in as your money. They still bill you for FedEx at the end of the month. They bill you for your store subscription if you have one, and a couple other little fees, like if you do additional auction whatever stuff, like fees or anything like that, which I don't really mess with. So other than that, it's good. I've enjoyed it. I mean, I haven't had problems. I like not having to look at two different places to send a refund or anything like that. I can just go into eBay and take care of it right there, and not have to go to PayPal and look it up and go back to eBay and figure it out.
Why would you go to PayPal?
Like mine used to make me to send a refund to somebody. I would have to go to PayPal and go there and send the refund.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't think you've ever done that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why, but
I mean, you can if you do it. It'll track back over.
Yeah,
I've always done it right through the absolute terrible customer service interface on eBay.
Yeah, the only thing that I have found you can't do, which I do 99% of my stuff on the phone, so I know there's certain things you've got to do on your computer. A refund is one of those things that I've had to do on my computer, or go to the actual eBay website on my phone. I can do it from there. But yep. Other than that, I didn't really have any problems with it. It was just business as usual, just taking a little extra time.
Man, can you speak more, Mike? Can you speak more to like the time frame of everything with like Amazon? Because I think that's like, we talk a lot about eBay and stuff like that, and we've had a couple of folks like dabble in Amazon, but never like FBA, and I think that comes up a lot for folks. And I think when you watch the YouTube videos and like some of the people out there, right, they make it sound like, dude, you go, you just do your market research, you find your product, you talk to the manufacturer, bada bing, bada boom, but it's like,
and then you lose your money.
Yeah, then we'll talk about the back and forth with the manufacturer, the sampling, the money up front, the money that gets tied up just until you can get paid. So.
Yes, the toughest thing is, and I think that they like, you see people say, "Oh, I got started with Amazon FBA with $500." Right? Here's obviously the problem with an FBA product or a white label product. Because of the fees of FBA, you're going to have to sell something that's in between. It's a minimum of, I'd say, $15, right? You aren't going to be able to get by selling stuff like you could on eBay for, $5 to $7 and still make like $2 per item. So first off, you're going to have to find an item that's at least $15 in that spot but the sweet spot on Amazon FBA for me seems to be like between $30 and $40. That's where most, I think, things on Amazon are going to be sold. You're going to spend most of your time dealing, even when you found a great item and you've done your market research and you find out, that it's not oversaturated and there may be only, you found that maybe there's only 30 sellers with a feedback rating of greater than 200, right? What most people don't realize is on eBay, I can take a product, I can take a replenishable product, and I can go head to head with somebody who's been selling that same product for 5 years. I can take that same product on eBay and I can beat them in 2 weeks. I can take the top spot or get on the same page as them and start taking a really decent amount of their share. On Amazon, if you've got someone with a product that's got 1,000 feedbacks, good luck. It's not going to happen because you're going to have to spend so much money on giveaways, and you're going to have to do everything you can to build that velocity to even get to the first page, only to find out that As soon as you stop giving the stuff away, the velocity goes away, and then you start falling back on pages. I don't know exactly how much money I've made on Amazon FBA, but I'll bet you it's probably less than 10 grand. And that took me 2 years, and I couldn't even tell you how many times going back and forth, switching vendors, or vendors disappear. You know, if you're using either Made in China or Alibaba, and you get yourself to the point where you're getting a good vendor, and then that vendor disappears because they told you they were a manufacturer and they weren't. Maybe they were a trade operation instead. Trying to find somebody that you could really trust is very, very hard on Alibaba. Considering it all begins with them using a fake name, sort of sets you off in the wrong point right there. You know, they're all named like, it's funny. Some of them are named. I deal with one guy right now. His name is Black. I'm sure that's not his real name. And then, you know, they don't even have. Sometimes it's funny. They don't even have like even normal names. You think they have names of objects because they're not even sure how they should name themselves. You know, because they're dealing with people here in the United States. They speak pretty good English, and I've had conversations with them over, you know, Skype and over FaceTime. But you never really get the impression that you're like not getting ripped off in some way. My very first product, it probably took 6 months to get to the point to where it was market ready, and then something would change. All of a sudden, there's oh well, you know, there's some kind of thing going on with the steel market, and all of a sudden the price changes, and you're just about to get a shipment sent to get your stuff put into Amazon. There was a lot of those games. It's not as easy. It's definitely not as easy as people make it sound. Now, it's easier to go, I think, find a local distributor here in the States. Let's say you wanted to sell like a health and beauty. Let's say you want to sell toothpaste. I would take that time and effort and money and find a supplier of the toothpaste and just ship it out FBA and sell it that way. Just sell an actual product. Sell a well-known product that you can get in that's not a gated category. I think that's a better time spent. I think it's better money spent than trying to white label something and trying to come up with a product that you can rebrand. Because when you do, by the time that you get your product there, 100 other people are doing the exact same thing. And by the time you get your product in there, it might be now so oversaturated. That's happened, you know, several times. And plus I think it takes, like I said earlier, I said earlier that I think that if you're going to do Amazon FBA, I think you either have to go all in, and that's where your time needs to be spent, or you just don't do it. I think it was easier doing Makar, easier doing eBay than it was doing FBA part-time, at least white label.
Yeah, I know. You can watch the stuff. We always call it Rainbow and Lambos. Like you can watch the stuff on YouTube. You're like, oh man, it almost reminds me of back in the day, the late night television infomercials. Like, if you spend $300, you too can live in a mansion like this. It's like, right. I was like, guys, there's a lot more to it than that. That's for sure. But it is
actually with some of the tools. I tell you what though, some of the tools that I've used. Like Helium or what's the other one? Not Amazon Scout. Jungle Scout. Those two tools. I use those tools actually to find products to sell on eBay. Because you have to figure if they're popular on Amazon, because those tools are really great tools.
Yeah.
There's nothing comparable as far as I'm concerned. Terapeak is okay, but it's not like Jungle Scout and Helium. If you use those tools to find products on Amazon that sell really well, guess what? They're also going to sell really well on eBay. And I've used that several times just to find good eBay product.
Just to know.
Yeah, I think that's a kind of a misconception. I mean, we do talk about Sam's big into Macari, and so we talk about things sometimes like people are trying to figure out, well, what sells on this platform, what sells on that platform. If it's a popular item, it sells everywhere. Like,
Yeah.
or even like Sam sold stuff. Typically, people always say Macari is what? It's toys, video games, and
Yeah.
figures. I was like, but he sold books. Like he sold all kinds of random stuff on there.
Yeah, I've sold tools.
Yeah.
I've sold anything but glass so far. Like that's the only thing I haven't really been able to sell.
Yeah.
But like an ephemera. But like for the most part, you know, people like a Bible's never gonna sell on Macari. Oh yeah, I got $75 for it last month. Eat that. So I mean, yeah, you know, but I think it also comes to the point of like which platform has more eyeballs and traffic. And I think too, just the way they set up the platforms, like, I mean, Amazon makes it hard because, you know, that buy box, man, the ease of buying for the customer, that as a seller, that's hard to pass up.
Yeah,
it is.
But it's just holding on to it because that's like chasing the brass ring, right? It's holding on to the buy box. That's about,
some of the, what I did learn though, some of the tricks to get into FBA work really well on eBay as well when it comes to like your like sales velocity. Some of that translates really well. Like if you launch a new product, I've launched replenishables where I break even for the first 10 sales, and by the second week you're on the top 3 and you're not even having to sponsor it, and you're now selling it like 5-10% above somebody else, depending on the price point. And I'm sure you guys have done that where, well, I guess it's a little different if it's not replenishables. Start it low and then just start raising that price as you rank. It's kind of counterintuitive. You think, man, I'm doing really great. I've been selling like 10 items a day at like $10. Like, should I go to like $11? Like that's going to kill me. And then you bump it. And it's like, that's weird. It doesn't change. That works really well. And in fact, there's a tool I used to use that used to do that stuff. I don't know if they make the same tool for Amazon. Amazon, some of those guys, those big Amazon sellers, they have a product that they may change the price of that product like 200 times in a day.
Yeah, like repricers. Yeah,
the repricing apps. And I'm not sure if I don't know if I've seen one that does it for eBay. I'm not sure eBay would that game is the same. I used to do that. I used to like go in and I was like really crazy about repricing my items like every day. And I think that was kind of a waste. What I like now is the idea of, I don't know if you guys have used 3D Sellers. Have you used 3dseller.com? Have you guys used that app or seen that?
I've seen it.
It's not cheap. They had a deal around Black Friday where I think you can get like a whole year. Well, it's based on another thing. One thing I don't like is it's based on how much you sell. So it's if you sell like up to 5,000, here's the price. And if you sell up to 10,000, here's the price. It's like, that seems sort of like you want a cut of my business. Like the better I do, you want a bigger cut of me. But it's still cool. I mean, it's like $20 a month. One of the cool things that it has is you can set up a rule. It's like if you have an item that sits there for a certain period of time, you can pull it down and relist it. So like I have a rule that if an item sits there for 60 days and it's not sold, it pulls it down and relists it. And since I started doing that, I've had items that were sitting there, I've had for like 2-3 months. And as soon as those things start to relist, like 10% of them sell within like a day. So I know a lot of people have used that tactic. I'm a big believer in that. Yes. And but the problem is if you have so many, how do you do that? You have thousands of products. There's no way to do it without a tool. So I'm a big fan of that. I think I told Eric about 3D Seller.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of other tools too. There's all those standard ones like feedback generators, feedback reminders, like that's something else that I think has been a big thing is it automatically sends out reminders, 7 days after the sale, 14 days after the sale, like, hey, I've given you feedback. Could you come back and give me feedback? I'd appreciate it. And that seems to like really have kicked up the amount of feedback that I've gotten. So it's a little tool. It's like every single, if you can just get a little bit of an improvement. I used to sit and look at the statistics, the impressions and the sales and all that stuff. It used to make me crazy. Try not to do that anymore, but I tell you what, some of these automated tools I think is probably something that you guys, if you guys haven't looked at it, especially 3D sellers, give it a look.
Yep.
They're still running that 40% off on the.
Are they still running it? It's like 20. I think the middle level will look at like 2 accounts. I think it's like $21 a month.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. But I mean, I think it boils down to kind of what you guys were talking about too. With scaling up, that's an employee. I mean, if not an employee, then you got to figure out how to outsource somehow.
That's exactly the way I look at it. It's for $20 a month. It's definitely paid for itself. The first week I had it.
Yeah, I mean, even in let's say medicine, right? When I was practicing, I was all about treating people. The part I hated the most was doing my notes. I absolutely hated doing it. And it was the most time consuming. But that's how I got paid. So for a long time, we just you have companies out there trying to figure out how to make it easier for folks, and you have some people that outsource to places like India just to do a dictation. So, I mean, but to free up your mind, man, and let you do the things you do like, I mean, I guess that's the trade-off that you're paying for.
Absolutely.
Yeah, anything you save as far as time, I guess it's just where your time's spent. I mean, I've always believed in business is, you don't hire to your strengths, right? You hire to your weaknesses. You find somebody that can do something that you don't either particularly want to do, or it's time consuming or monotony, or it's something that you're not that good at. When I hired a manager to run my Subway, I was like, I'm a little slack in some of the organizational, I'm not OCD about everything's got to be. I wish I was, but I'm not. So I hired somebody who's like that. Okay, I can put everything to you, and you go in, everything's organized to the T all the time. I'm like, man, I was like, I almost need one of those right now, looking at this room I'm sitting in.
I know, I got to tackle my garage tomorrow. But
what do you think? Why do you think I'm? My camera's pointing at a wall.
That's what I'm looking at the back wall. That's what I'm looking at the back wall. Yeah. Wow. Man, Lady Luck sold a poster going to New York for $150.
Boom.
I hear you, Danica. Dude, if you have not seen the Blue Wrench last night's on Bluegrass Picker, if you go hit the rewatch, just keep scrolling, you'll see a Blue Wrench pop up. Yeah, you got to check that out. Miss Danica's improv. Pretty awesome. Well, guys, if y'all have any questions in the chat, feel free to do so. Put some in there. Like I said, Mike has a lot of experience. But one of the things I kind of wanted you to touch on just a little bit is marrying the two, having the thrift store and having reselling going on. Because I know a lot of us, we're obviously on the other side of the counter most of the time, looking at the backside and going, that's supposed to be anonymous. Yeah, he didn't give it away. But, just how those things marry up. I know I joke with you all the time. It's like, man, you've already got the good stuff. He's like, I don't even see half of it that comes through here.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's because I work a different job during the week. I'm almost hardly there during the week. So I'm there Saturdays and Sundays. And I mean, I know there's, a ridiculous amount of great stuff that has come in and out of there. People that I've worked in there, I have no idea what's a keeper. There was I walked in there a couple Saturdays ago, and with the rest of the art, there was a Pearl Jam poster from 2008 Virginia Beach.
Oh, wow.
It was they did a concert with Kings of Leon, and it was done by I can't remember the artist. I could go grab it and show it to you. And it's like a $300 poster, and they had it out on the floor for $10. I knew who it was immediately because I recognized the art. The guy he'd done all sorts of art for all different kinds of bands over the years. So there's that kind of stuff that they don't know, or stuff like one good thing is sort of a combination is like, because we live in a tourist town, and because the majority of these houses are rentals, what I always joke with Eric about is I see a ridiculous amount of the VCR DVD combo units come through. So it's like every single week we get like 2 or 3. I just sold 2 Phillips to the same guy. They're like $80 a piece. I just shipped them off today. So a lot of those come through where people will clean out their house and we'll go do a pickup. I've done a pickup where there's like one of these units in every single bedroom, and it's like a 6-bedroom house. And I'm like, jackpot. Like, these are the best things that it pulled out of the house. But I don't take everything out of it. I mean, there's still some things like, I know there are people who come through because they're coming through with their phones and they're looking up every single. I don't want to strip the place clean. I want those people to come back because there's still stuff. I can't sell everything, and there's still stuff that I want them to come. And if they find a gem, and they buy, $60 worth of, their wife buys $60 worth of clothing, I don't want to tell Eric. I always joke with Eric. I'm like, Eric, you got to get there. Friday's probably the best day because I haven't been there all week. All the good stuff that's come in that during the week is all sitting there. It's all ready to get picked over. I said by Saturday I might find it.
Yeah.
But it is cool. I mean, but I don't actually. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of deliverables or of replenishables. So. I mean, I do have a lot of stuff sitting here that I've pulled from there, but it's still only like 10% of the stuff that I actually sell. I love the fact that I can sit at my desk and I can not leave that desk and I can pack 40 items, in like an hour time. That's what I like to do, because I've done where you're packing 20, 30 shelf pulls and it takes you like 4 hours because it took you 10 minutes because you didn't have the right box and you're manufacturing a box for some item and you're trying to make sure that you've packed it properly. I'm not a big fan of that. It's like I said, if I ever got to that point, the first person I'd hire is like shipping person, let them deal with that.
Yeah.
Because I actually don't like the shipping, that part of it. I don't like all the different items. I love boxes that can fit in other boxes very neatly. And when you're doing picking, it's tough to do. Especially if you're selling artwork. And I sold an old universal stand mixer. Right, it's like a heavy item. Like, how do you pack it to not get broken, and you don't have the right size box? And
have you? I actually used these guys yesterday. So we do have one shipping center here, and they. The one up, it's up Kettleville Hills, like it's up on
in the house.
Yeah,
There's a house. Yeah, I'm there all the time.
Yeah. I've started using those guys for my stuff I don't want to ship, or it's big, or it's extremely fragile. I'm like, hey,
it's weird there. I've gotten a weird like variable price in there. I've brought stuff there before because I didn't.
The older ladies there, you're paying up, bro.
There's a young guy there. He charged me like $5 one time. And I'm like, dude, this is going to be like $15 of bubble wrap.
Yeah.
And then I've gone in there another time with like small sets of dishes. Yeah. And she wanted to charge me like $15 for like 4 dishes. I'm like, what?
Yeah, I paid up the other day. I paid up $20 on an item, but I'd put like $50 shipping on it. So we're good. I paid them $20. I paid $20 for the label. So.
One thing that I haven't figured out here yet is back where I used to live, there were so many great places to get free boxes.
Yeah.
There were so many like strip malls where you can go back there and get all sorts of great free shipping materials. Because there were like cardboard only boxes where they were already broken down. And I used to just grab as many as I could, fit in the back of the truck, and then I'd come home and figure out which sizes were which, write the sizes up on the corner, slide them in my slot there where I had all the boxes. Out here, have you been able to find like a great place to get like free shipping?
I was getting it at Tuesday morning for a while, but with all the COVID stuff, they're not getting as much stuff in. The Outer Banks Mall right there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, their dumpster used to have a lot of bubble wrap too.
Oh, so I love free bubble wrap.
That's gold. I got a box the other day.
Yeah, there was a place by me where I used to live. They used to bag up all of the peanuts and throw garbage bags. It was awesome. You just open the lid. I pull out garbage bags full of packing peanuts.
Yeah,
Out of the bin. It's fantastic. I haven't been able to find any of that out here.
you know, it's funny. I always talk about this and think about it, but I always think to myself, like, man, can you imagine, like, if you received a package and then you watch a video of a guy pulling shipping material out of the dumpster? People will be like, what? That guy just shipped me something.
Yeah. Well, that's why I laugh. It's like when I see the guys, some of the YouTubers, and they're like pulling stuff out of the garbage, and I'm like, you're gonna sell. Someone's gonna see that you pulled that from a dumpster, and like you sold it to them for like $50, and you were like wiping garbage off of it.
Yeah, it is, man. Life of a reseller. Like, you see, what's the one guy that's so famous on YouTube? The trash pickup guy. Is it Taco Stacks? Is that the guy? Yeah, he's big into it. It's crazy. Yeah. Sam's on mute this evening. Ezra wanted to be a part of the show bad. So he's kind of dipping in and out. Leroy trying to work a deal with me. You see that? He said if I do 20 of his listings, he'll back 20 of my items. It'd be a bit of a commute there, Leroy, but he's in South Carolina. So, yeah, free shipping material, go to your local furniture store. Yeah, our local furniture store holds on to that stuff, man.
I was going to say, the only thing that I can get at the furniture store are free pallets.
I gotcha. Yeah,
I've tried the furniture store.
Yeah, there's tons of them out there for sure. Yeah, I used to hit up all the strip mall, but the problem, most of our places now have attached compactors. Like, so now it's like, dude, everything's going in the compactor. You can't even get in it. But yeah, I have sold a couple things I found in the dumpster. One time I found a bag in there that was like brand new from behind Staples. It was in there. It was a laptop bag, just brand new. I was like, I don't know what happened. And then I found what else? Something else. A bicycle.
A bicycle.
Yep. I was like, there's a bicycle in one of the dumpsters. I resold it local. Yeah, Mr. Bislot said that Taco lives near him. So one of those things. All right, guys. Well, if y'all have any further questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. We are.
Do you how much do you sell? How much stuff do you sell like on Facebook Marketplace, Eric?
Very little.
Very little.
I've sold maybe 5 pieces since I've been here.
Oh, really?
I've seen your. I just don't do a whole lot of it. Occasionally, I'll put something on there, but I just, the whole like 50 questions and not showing up and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I just kind of dip on that. If I was doing more furniture stuff, right now I've got 2 listings on there. I've got some big air filters that are in a box, like huge, 24 by 24 by 24 box. And then I've got a set of speakers that I don't necessarily want to ship, but they're brand new and expensive. So
yeah, I've got some big stuff. I got some big stuff that I don't think is gonna probably work for me to sell online. That are probably like some $50 to $60 items, but
you sold some high end furniture on there before, though, haven't you?
What's that?
You've sold a little bit of high end furniture on there, haven't you? Like that king size bed you sold.
Oh yeah, that Altthorpe. That king size bed went relatively quick. I was surprised how quickly that thing had sold. It was like a $6,000 headboard.
Oh,
I got $800 for it.
Yeah.
I had to deliver it. That kind of sucked, but luckily she only was up like 4 steps to get into her house.
That's not too bad.
It was solid mahogany. It was an Altthorpe king headboard, It was $6,000 plus up to $2,000 for the custom fabric because it had a custom fabric applied to it. Came out of about a $3 million house up north of us, and also got a it was a Natuzzi, or it was an Italian leather sectional. It was like a $6,000 sectional. And these people bought the house. They didn't like the furniture, so they called us to take. We get some great stuff. Those are the big finds when you show up and they're like, there's a house I just went to. It was a second home. It was a $7 million house, and it had a workout room in it that probably had about $20,000 worth of equipment, all like Procore, like high-end machines. And the guy lives in California. It's a second home, and he was putting it on the market. So they were getting rid of a bunch of, and I'm going to go back there for more. But it's all furniture. Furniture is, I have to put it, that's the kind of stuff that goes to the store.
Did he have free weights up there?
What's that?
Did he have free weights in there?
He did.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he did. The thing was serious, and it was like right outside, like, it had like a sliding wall, one of those doors that like the doors that slide. So when they slide completely open, it's like the whole wall is open. And if you open that up, it's like right out there was the pool. It was on the first floor. It was up near Pine Island. You know where that's at, Eric?
Yeah. There's some high dollar stuff, man. Some of the houses up north, I know you get crazy stuff out of some of them places because they're all like multi-million-dollar houses up there.
Oh, it's crazy. And like it's like the artwork that when they get rid of it, even the knickknacks, we sell them in the store. I try to find them online, and some of these things are like $300-400. We sell them in the store for like 20. One of those things that you could sell it online, but it's like, how do you ship some of those things? That's the problem. Like people, that's why you get great deals in thrift stores, because people come in expecting to buy stuff cheap.
Yeah.
Right. So it's very rare. You get a really high end item you can ask premium dollars for, but we give a lot of stuff away. It turns, it's one of those. It's the same thing when it comes to picking. It's like if you have $5,000 of product, do you wait to get premium dollar, or do you sell it so you can turn it and churn it? Right.
Yeah.
And that was like that was the thing that I had to get past when we took the store over, because the store, the previous owner was pricing things, I think, much higher than he should have been.
Yeah, he was selling them 75% of eBay. Because I've watched them do it before you guys took over.
Oh yeah, no, he had a girl. He had someone working there.
Yeah, and she'd look it right up. I was like, "How much on this?" She's like, "Let me look at it," and she'd type it in. Oh yeah, and she's looking at listed. Like not sold, listed.
Oh, right.
One day I was like kind of leaning around the counter and look. I was like, yeah, you're never gonna get that.
We had to change. We don't have the same staff. We definitely don't have the same pricing model. Like all of our clothing, they used to sit down. They used to waste so much time like pricing individual pieces of clothing, and they had amassed a 40-foot container full of clothing. That's how much clothing we got. I have a container that's full of clothing.
So, Mike, that was something I was thinking about the other day that you could put out there if you wanted to. Like, there are some crazy clothing sellers that are in our community that would probably be like head over heels to come out and just dig through the container.
Oh, they probably would. I mean, there's great stuff in there. I mean, we're constantly pulling clothing out that still has tags on it.
Yeah.
I've got two Nautica jackets over here that have tags that I pulled out of it that was sitting in a bag. There's two Carolina jackets that were brand new and with tags that were just sitting in a bag. So when you pull, when I found out how much we had, and I'm doing the math, I'm like, okay, if we sold every piece of clothing, it's probably still going to be like 4 years. Plus, we're constantly getting new clothing in, so we just went to like $4 for everything on the clothing, and we did we're doing like 5 or 6 times. It's like churn it, man. You're going to sit on stuff forever wanting. I used to see things like I used to sell stuff when I would sell stuff online for cheap. It would kill me. I'm like, oh man, I knew I could have got like an extra $20 for that, but
yeah,
for what? Free up some capital, replace it with a new item, and just keep churning it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. My mom said it's only worth what somebody will pay for it.
That's exactly right.
That's
And if you can sell, if you're making $10 on everything you sell, but you're selling, 20,000 items a year, would that be okay with you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
That's it. Hey, so you should hit up Brian. He's bought one tractor trailer. Like,
I saw that.
No doubt. He's
Well,
definitely
are you buying them? Are you buying them by the pound?
I don't know.
I'm like well, you can buy. So when you buy clothing, you can buy them by grade. So A, B, C, depending on the grade, you get them by the pound.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can get stuff as cheap as like 20, 30 cents a pound.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, if you're selling stuff for $4 a piece, that's freaking fantastic. But I looked into that, but we don't have that problem. I mean, we have so many clothes that are coming in.
Yeah.
We can't.
Well, the other thing you've got from where you're at too is because, like, one of the other local thrift stores quit taking clothing altogether, and then he's got two other thrift stores, or basically a chain. They have 4 thrift stores on the Outer Banks. They're only taking 3 days a week, like for all of their locations. They have 3 days worth of intake. It's crazy.
Yeah, they're not. They're a lot different than they were a year ago.
And their prices are crazy high. I went in Hotline 2 yesterday, and
we've been gaining a lot of steam on them.
Yeah, because I'm like, dude, they ain't got nothing in there. And what they do have now that COVID's hit, only their staff's working, so they're pricing it back through the roof again.
Well, the other problem that they're having is, remember, so like they're all volunteers.
Yeah.
At Hotline, and they're all over the age of 70.
Yeah.
So they're all freaked out. They're staying home.
Yeah.
So they took a hit. Now I have people who used to work over there.
Mm-hmm.
They both of my employees, they had worked at those stores for years. The difference is I'm paying mine.
Yeah, now they're getting paid.
Well, they came over volunteering. Hey, can we volunteer? I'm like, all right. So then within like 2 weeks, I've noticed that they're there like 5 days a week. I'm like, you guys are here too much. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, you're not volunteering. If you're here 5 days a week and you're putting in 40 hours a week, that's not volunteering. I'm like, you're an employee.
Yeah.
So I started paying them. I felt bad. I'm like, I can't. How does that work?
Yeah.
So apparently over at the Hotline stores, that's how, apparently they're all volunteers except for like a couple, I guess, at the top. But that seems shady to me to take that much free labor.
Mm.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how that works. So Brian was talking about that he got it from an estate sale cleanout company, and it was a lot of. He did get some of that higher end stuff, but he said paid $12,000 for the tractor trailer.
No big deal.
That's a small buy for Brian.
that's actually a way above average. You could normally get tractor trailers full of stuff for about half of that, but I don't know how much of that is. You're going to probably toss half of it, but
yeah,
it's surprising. The difference between like 1 and 2 pallets and a tractor trailer isn't really that much money.
Yeah,
it's not as much of a difference as you'd think.
Yeah, I know we talked about that stuff, like how you can get a whole tractor trailer for $5 or $6 grand, or you can pay $500 or $600 a pallet. That's how some pallet stores exist, because they do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I just bought my first one since being back out here. The thing that kind of sucks though is where I used to live. You're in the Midwest.
Yeah.
So you could get stuff shipped from both coasts.
Mm-hmm.
Now I have to search when I go look, and I have to find stuff that's within like 500-600 miles, or you're just paying way too much for it to be delivered. You got to buy like at least 4 pallets to make it worth it. Because the difference between like 1 pallet and 4 pallets is normally only a couple $100 to have to ship it. The first one is the most expensive, and then after that, it seems like that's where you're sort of making your money. I just bought one just to test out, because I've never actually bought from this B stock supply, but it was a third party vendor in Atlanta. So far, I'm not happy with it. I haven't had too many duds. I only had one, which was a shame. It was like a set of $60. It was their 3M Workmates. They're like sound ear headset that has like radio and Bluetooth built into it, and it showed up dead. It sucked too because when I looked it up before I tested it, I was like, yeah, these things are selling like crazy on eBay for like $60 to $70. Put batteries in it, just totally dead.
It's the worst.
Yeah,
it's crazy. I got somebody scouting some of them pallet stores out that I've talked to you about.
Well, I figure around the holiday, around Christmas, we should, because I'm taking some time off, we should just, because I got the truck. I think I could fit 6 pallets on the truck.
There was one place. The only bad thing is that you only get like about a day's heads up. The ones I've looked at.
Well, I've got a map.
Tomorrow.
I've mapped out. There's about 10 of them within about 100-mile radius right around Raleigh.
Yeah.
I figure just make a day of it.
Yeah.
Or 2 days of it, and you just try to hit as many as you can and just buy and load and keep going till the truck's full and then head home.
See, Mike's talking about how to scale.
Road trip.
Hey, I think Brian was in here earlier. Tri-flipper, he's out that way.
Yeah.
Raleigh. Yeah, that would be a massive road trip. Load it. You say you can fit 6 on that truck.
Yeah.
I think I fit 6 pallets on the truck.
No big deal.
Yeah, we can get it. I think my estate sales slow down now. Like the guy said, they don't really have one scheduled to after the first of the year. So,
did you find your estate sale? You find out about that through a service or just happen to do it?
Dude, I actually stopped out there. It's on the main highway, Highway 64. So I stopped out there, and because the guys have a bunch of stuff out there. And I pulled in. I was like, "Hey, are you guys open?" It used to be a thrift store, and then they told me, "Nah, but we have the auction." And so I went to one auction, and then I got talking to them about what I do, and they're like, "Oh, we do tag sales too occasionally." But they typically auction off their estate sales. But if it's full houses, then they go to, they actually do it at the house rather than bringing all the stuff over there. So that's what I got hooked up with, that guy doing that stuff. So.
Well, there was a guy. The one great thing about the previous owner of the store is he was fantastic at setting up relationships. He's
still hustling, bro. That guy, I see him on Facebook Marketplace.
Oh, that dude is a hustler.
Yeah, appliances. Now he does appliances,
and you tell you what, he found a source to get like dent. What do they call it?
Scratch and
dents.
Yeah.
He found a source that as long as he's buying like by the half truckload, he's getting these things for
nothing.
Half of what he's selling them for. He's making as much money as he did when he was running the store. And all he's doing is appliances. And the cool thing is I don't like moving appliances, especially when they're on the 3rd floor.
Yeah.
So I'll send him pictures, and I'll get $50. I'll make a quick 50 on like a dryer or a washer.
Yeah.
And have him go get it.
Yeah, there you go.
I'll just say, hey, here's the address, here's the picture. Do you want it? Because it's easier for it. I don't want to move it. So, but no, that dude's a hustler. But what he's really good with it, he was good at setting up relationships. There was an estate guy who, for the first like 3 months after I bought the store, he would call me and he'd say, I had an estate sale. Do you want to come clear out what's left? The sale's over. And then the guy got out of the business like 3 months after I bought the store. But I did it twice. Both times, he's like, bring an empty truck.
Oh, my gosh.
And you just show up and it's anything that's left over. Now, that could mean that you're just basically hauling garbage.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of great stuff that people just...
Yeah, I found stuff on the last day because it really just depends on who shops it and who prices it. I mean, because sometimes those guys price it out. Like there's
That's exactly right.
company in Virginia, man, that I've been to 2 of their sales, and I haven't bought anything yet because I'm like, guys, they're like, oh, it's 30% off today. Yeah, but 30% off double retail.
Right.
That ain't gonna get you anywhere.
Like, what is this? You're like, what is this? Kohl's?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at like they're talking about eBay pricing. I was like, you're like top end eBay pricing on. I looked at a radio in one. The radio had a dent in the front. It sold for like $75 in good shape. Had a dent in the front. The handles broke off. The antennas broke off. The guy's like, yeah, $75 on that. I'm like, what are you smoking? Like, is there something back here in the backyard that we don't know about? Like, he's not. I don't know. You're not living on Earth. I asked him. I said, what do you guys do when you have stuff left? He said it really depends on what the owner gets. I said, do y'all take it back with you or what? And he's like looking at me. I said, man, your prices are like crazy high. But one of those things, I hear of that kind of shady dealings.
Yeah, estate sales are kind of hit or miss. I haven't been to one in probably since I was living back in Illinois. They used to. Yeah. They were. I tell you what, they were. That was the nice thing about living in a big city. Was during garage sale season, you couldn't hit a fraction of them in a day.
Yeah,
it was nonstop. If you wanted to go for 12 hours, get up at like 7 a.m, and you could just go all day long and just from one to another. And out here, like that app, there's a phone app.
Yard Sale Treasure Map.
What's that?
Yard Sale Treasure Map.
I don't know if I've used that one. There's a couple of them, but the couple that I installed, nobody uses it out here. There's nothing.
Yard Sale Treasure Map hooks to Craigslist. But what I do on Saturdays for yard sales, I just drive up the beach all the way to Currituck, and then I turn around and come back. And then usually I used to thrift after that. If my haul weren't very good, I'd just stop and thrift all the way back. But here lately, since I've been going out to this guy's stuff, I buy such volume there that I've got inventory for the week for the most part.
Cool. That's
kind of how I've been working it. But yeah, it's one of the things, man. I think there's Sam. I don't know if Mike actually used to live up near where you're at.
Mm-hmm. I met Mike said it a couple of times in other live stream. So no, he was out this way. Moved to the beach, dude. I went from Cape Cod to Illinois, so I did the other direction.
What?
I went from beach to inland. Yeah.
How did you end up there? I mean, why would you move to Illinois?
Man, I met a girl. Honestly, man, because I run a mushroom farm. So from a sourcing standpoint, in the Rust Belt, the grain belt, it's super easy for me to get some of the products that I need to just get my farm going. I'm literally operating 50% of what it would cost me in Massachusetts just on supplies alone. So I'm like, it was like a no-brainer for me. And out here, it's a lot of like redeveloped farmland. So if I ever wanted to like look into a bigger space and go to a warehouse, like I have that option. Versus like New England, it's already overdeveloped as it is, and some of the stuff is like especially at the beach. I don't know if it's like that by you guys. Everything's zoned very specifically. You have so many wetlands that preserve, so it's hard to develop or just even get a permit to like put in a toilet sometimes. You know what I mean? Because it's like small town bureaucracy, and I don't feel like that out here. So,
and if you head south of where you're at, there's so much. The land is even cheaper.
Yeah.
And because you're in not far. You're west of the city.
Yeah. I'm an hour outside of Chicago, so I'm like Elgin area, if you know that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was 45 minutes south. So southwest. Far enough to be able to drive in and enjoy it for a while, and far enough to not have to deal with it and the taxes.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely will say, like, as far as from a thrifting standpoint, like, there's definitely a lot more here than I was used to from like Cape Cod. I mean, that's got like 3 stores now, but with COVID, and Massachusetts is probably one of the most strict places right now as far as like, their COVID regulations. So it's like I wouldn't be able to eat if I try to live off of reselling alone. Back to like what we talked about before.
Yeah.
Like we like Eric and I talk about scaling up a lot, but then I'm like, I kind of like where I am. You know what I mean? Like scaling up. That fantasy is nice, but it also comes with its own sets of challenges, And like, I don't know, for some folks, like they want to be like the biggest store. Like, I'd like to be a medium-sized little store. It's okay. It works for me and my lifestyle right now.
When I first, years ago, it was when I first really decided that I was going to do it consistently rather than just like, go out and source a bunch of stuff, throw it up there, and then like, wait a month or two and just sell it all off. It was like, if I just make enough just to like pay a couple utility bills. And then I was like, what if I could just like make my utility bills and like my car payment, right? And now I'm at that point where it's like, I want to make enough every month to pay the mortgage, right? That's like that was like the latest baseline. And that especially became like back when the whole COVID thing was. I was like, yeah, I'm so glad that's the baseline that I was at, because like now I'm making enough to at least like stay in my house and pay some other bills, and because you figure, if I had been a little smarter, when I had my first house paid for, what did I do? Well, I went and bought another house naturally, a bigger house, right? And then. Well, what did I do when I had my house within like 5 years of being paid off? I moved out to the beach and bought another house. So you get your house paid for. If you have no mortgage, you're almost untouchable.
Yeah.
Right? If you can't scratch enough money together to like keep your lights on and feed yourself for a month, you're really doing something wrong. Like that mortgage is like the thing that's in your head. So that was always like that, like where I wanted to get to. That's like 15 years ago. Is like, I just want to make enough online just to pay my mortgage, so I know that that's always going to be covered, and the rest is all like easy stuff.
Yeah.
But, so you're right. I'm at a point where I don't think I could, between the store and my day job, I don't think I could scale up. Like I'm at a point now, like I'm going to get done here. We get done here, I've got to pack like 40 items. I'm probably going to be up, to midnight. 50 is like my daily limit that I can tolerate just time wise, because I just don't have time to do anything other than that. So there's like a comfort point.
Yeah, I mean, and when like Eric was saying, now we have so many irons in the fire. Scaling up often, or whatever energy, you only have so much energy in your day and your person, so it's like if you're gonna put all this energy in scaling something else is gonna suffer, so I mean that's part of the reason why I had to dial back YouTube a little bit, because it's like fourth quarter's coming, like for me it's not just like it's a when the cold comes, it's gonna be busy, but it's harder for me to grow, so I have to be on top of it and then like get over the hump. And then once I'm over that, then I don't have to really worry about that as much. On top of like, listing stuff and making sure that I have fourth quarter strong.
Brittany just dropped in the chat.
Are you guys seeing a bump since Black Friday?
I actually had one of my best Saturdays this past weekend. So just a lot of high dollar items. Like, yeah, it was good. But yeah, I hit like 1,300 for the day. So.
Oh, nice. Are you seeing your impressions and your page visits also go up? Because mine's jumped at least 20% since Black Friday, it seems.
Man, I actually just read an article too about eBay about how they've seen such a bump, even over last year, like they were talking about. So that's great.
I mean, in buyers, sellers, just overall business?
Overall business, yeah. So they were talking about how the new CAO, has done so much, is what they're kind of referring to. But Yeah.
They're kind of in a weird spot. They haven't seen the growth that some of these other platforms, these newer platforms, but it's always like the new shiny thing that shows up, right? Everybody flocks to, and then,
Well, I think eBay is probably like, if you're looking at, we see it here, but then you think on a worldwide scale. I mean, because like we see guys in a lot of Europeans, like Australians, like I see those guys in chat all the time talking about their eBay stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, you think if we're more global, I mean, I know Amazon's there too, but there's different stuff that you'll find on eBay that you won't find on Amazon.
Oh, that's for sure.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, Amazon is a little pickier about how they are portrayed. And I think eBay is, I think if they could, they would do the same thing.
Yeah.
For a while there, I was convinced that eBay was trying to filter out the small seller.
Yeah.
One thing that I think would help eBay a lot, it definitely help Amazon, is to be a little stricter with the outside of the U.S. seller. Amazon has a real problem with it. There are sellers from the outside of the States that will. I mean, have you ever gone and looked at a product and say it's a book, and there's 10 sellers and they're selling the book for $10, and there's one person selling it for $50?
Mm-hmm.
There are sellers that's all they do, hoping that they're just going to pick up the person who's not paying attention, I suppose.
Yeah.
There's whole applications that are built toward this. I don't want to say that eBay should restrict the Chinese sellers, but they should restrict the Chinese sellers, because you can't compete. When you're getting something shipped, like
Sam, you're out.
Sam's like, what? But
no, dude. I mean, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
they get such a good. I'm not talking the domestic Chinese seller. I'm talking about the guys who can sell and ship you like a 5-pound item for $2.
Yeah,
the Alibaba guys that have basically cut out the FBA white label guys.
Well, that's guys that are just drop shipping.
That's always the funny thing. It's like all those guys are the same guys that are selling the same product to people who are trying to resell it, and it's like, why wouldn't they? If you can ship an item for pennies because your government is subsidizing your shipping, why wouldn't you? You just can't compete. So I've had where I've had replenishables, and I'm going, within like a month, you look at the top like 10 people on the first page, and they're all people shipping from China.
Yeah,
and they're all selling it for less than what I bought it for, right? It's like, how do you compete? You whore it out, you blow it out, and then you're done with that product. You go on to the next one.
I mean, and you don't, because like my wife has been buying stuff, and she has like had her Amazon account forever, and she leaves a lot of comments, to the point now where like some of these Chinese resellers are reaching out to her behind the scenes to give her, money through PayPal to buy an item and leave feedback, basically. So they're buying feedback in return for their product. And there was one time where she bought something, she didn't like it, and she wanted to return it. And like, because they were from China, they didn't have a legit address to send to, so they just kind of gave her a wonky address, and they sent it to that. And they were like, okay, that satisfied the return. You get your money back. We're like, what? So we're imagining this is this random house that's getting like random dresses shipped to them. I don't even know. But yeah, man, it's crazy. I think of how many people. I mean, it's no different than what Amazon's doing. Seeing you sell something 20 times over.
Oh yeah,
sales velocity is high.
Yeah.
Why not snipe it from you? You can't do anything about it.
Everything under the Amazon Basics brand was probably at one point some independent seller who started to do really well with the product. And then Amazon said, well, if you guys can sell 10,000 of these, we can sell 100, because we're going to go and undercut the price and slap our brand on it.
Yep.
No, there's a lot of complaints about that too.
Well, it's crazy too because, like, I mean, I've been looking at some of that stuff for a little while, but I don't know if you've ever watched College Picker. Like, have you watched him before?
No.
I know. I'm sure Sam's familiar with College
Mhm.
Picker.
Mhm.
So he does a lot of reviews of stuff. Like he there for a while, he was doing a lot of the thermal printers. So he was talking about the fact that Rollo printer is an Alibaba
It is.
Oh yeah.
product, and all
Yeah.
they did was the only patent they carry is the Rollo name and like their logo on it. But he said you can buy that same one 2 at a time for $40 a piece that they're selling for 135, 145.
Yeah.
You can the exact same. He actually ordered one, compared the two, took them apart, showed you, hey, this is this right here. But I was like, those guys are selling them for $40. So think of the number of people that are just cranking it out, like on that aspect. The only play you've got left is just your lead time.
Yeah.
That's the only thing you got to work with, because you're talking about, hey, if a guy's shipping it from China, you're talking about a 2-week shipping window versus hey, I can get it to you 1 to 3 days, but you're going to have to pay this much more to get that. Because I've seen that with Amazon myself. Like, I'm always looking like, where's it coming from? Because if it's 2 or 3 weeks to get here, like I have to pay up. That's what I got to do. But it is.
Yeah, and the same seller that sells those printers, if you buy 100 of them, they'll put whatever logo you want on there.
Yeah, it's 300 on the 300 for custom packaging, custom labeling, custom.
And some of them are some of the MOQs are really low. Some are low as like 50 depending on the product. I've gotten stuff branded. I've gotten them to design to brand the box and the product sometimes as low as like 100 pieces.
Yeah.
And you send them they'll send you the template, you send them the design, you send them whatever, and they do a great job. And I mean, look at Amazon. That's basically, you find an Amazon product, you find the same freaking product with 10 different logos on it. It's all the same thing, right? It's
same pictures most of the time. You're just
same pictures.
Yeah.
Same pictures that they got off the Alibaba site.
Yeah.
I mean, it's true, dude. I mean, when we've seen like even the Alibaba people poaching stuff from Etsy jewelry makers, like taking, and we're like, what the heck is going on? So it's interesting just seeing how much, some of the Chinese like vendors and sellers will like mess with the American markets.
Well, that's the other big joke is Etsy. 80% of Etsy is not homemade. 80% of Etsy is Alibaba. All you have to do is say it's homemade, and they'll just leave you alone. But if you say that it's not, they'll shut you down. Because I had an Etsy account, and I was selling. So my daughter, you would get if you get like white cotton face masks, you can get them from China for about 30 cents a piece. You let your daughter tie dye them for you. Give her like $20, and then you sell them on Etsy for $3 for $20. Now, as long as you say that you made them yourself, that you got over the hump by tie dyeing them. But if you were to take the white masks and put them on Etsy, even if you said, you'd have to say you homemade them. I've seen them. The same product that I sell on eBay is the same stuff I see on Etsy, and it says like homemade. It's like, it's not homemade. There's nothing homemade about that. Like, you didn't have the proper printer to print right on the fabric.
Yeah.
But I know people who make $10,000 a month on Etsy selling Alibaba product and label it as homemade. The problem with Etsy is once they shut you down hard. It's hard to get your account back. And they do all sorts of stuff like IP tracking and cookie tracking and fingerprinting to make sure that you aren't back on there. So I haven't done much since the face masks, but those sold really well. But the problem is it's harder. It's becoming harder to get face masks out of China because of like the whole, when everything ramped back up.
Yeah.
Certain providers won't do it. You have to find one that'll market it just like cloth items. So you're risking you're risking getting nailed at customs if they mislabel it. So, but yeah, Etsy. I don't know if you guys have ever sold anything tried to sell anything on Etsy before.
No,
But I know a lot of people that kill it there.
Yeah,
I mean, we know a couple of people, but nothing like homemade. My wife has thought about it, with her sewing stuff, but nothing, nothing like drop shipping from China.
I tried to get my mom on Etsy because she, my mom can sew. Like she learned as a little kid, so she's actually got like they come and stay up for like 2 months out of the year. Between myself and my sister, she has a sewing machine at every one of our houses. So like she's been making these bowl warmers. I'm not like it's basically like a what do you call it? So you don't burn yourself.
Like pot holders.
Yeah, but it wraps around a bowl. So like if you microwave something, it has this material in it that won't get hot, like it won't catch on fire. And so like there's a lot of people making them right now, and they fit over a bowl, so you can pick it up. You don't burn yourself. You can set it in your lap, whatever. My mom was cranking these things out the other day, and I was like, "Mom, I'm looking up on eBay." I said, "They're like $10 on eBay, man. You could probably just crank them out." But then if you look on Etsy, because that's the thing with Etsy, right? It goes from being a $10 eBay item to a $15 to $20 Etsy item because
people pay ridiculous amounts of money on Etsy for things.
Yeah, I know Tim was talking about it. Hey, Tommy, thanks for you guys. there it is. Brittany's holding one right now. That's my daughter, guys. Congrats, Brittany. I'll give you the on-air shout out. They beat their rival tonight in a 3-2 match. That's what I got, the little fist pump middle of our live early on. But yeah, she's in here hanging out. So bowl koozie is what she calls them.
I like it.
Yeah, there you go. Blackberry Thistle come in. So he shops a lot of Etsy, and Parrothead Picker in the house. Thank you guys for coming. And Tracy, thank you for being here as well. We know we've been on here a long time because Tommy and Tracy are on here. Sean, thanks for coming in, man. But hey guys, if y'all have any further questions for Mike, we've been on roughly 2 hours. So
wow.
I know time flies when you're having fun, right?
That's right.
And like Mike is a wealth of knowledge. I know I did not put his channel in the chat right now. It's kind of just his personal thing, but you'll see him hanging out in my channel from time to time. But Mike, if you want us to share that, we will. If not, I'll let it eat, but I'll drop it in the description if you let me know later on or whatever. If you want that.
Yeah, it's right now it's not active. Like I said, before I moved out here, I kicked around the idea, but now I'm not even sure how much time I would have to do it. It's fun. Maybe I'll just like hang out with you guys for once in a while.
Yeah, it's fine. And we've had a ton of people that do that, like that have been in here for a long time. And then next thing you know, like Sean, who's in here right now, Bargain Resell, he's a Carolina guy as well. He was hanging out for a while. Sean McLeod was in here for a long time. And the next thing you know, he started a channel and he's kind of part of that. So, I mean, no pressure on you, but I definitely do thank you for coming in, hanging out with us this evening.
Yeah, it's fun. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. If you are on the Outer Banks, though, I will give him a shout out, man. Mission Thrift. Yeah, if you come through the Outer Banks, stop by Mission Thrift. If it's on a Saturday or Sunday, you might actually catch him in the store. But if not, usually his wife's there hanging out. Or if she ain't thrifting somewhere else, checking out the competition. I joked her for a while. I said, "Man, I see you in this other store more than I do your own."
Yeah, pull up our bank statement. I'm like, why are you at like 3 other thrift stores yesterday? I'm like, well, I got to do research. I'm like, well, you spent like $30 at each store. What kind of research is that?
She's checking the quality control over there. But yeah, so guys, if you are in the area, if you see Mike in the chat, obviously that's who it is. Now we can put name to face. But yeah, definitely check him out if you come through the Outer Banks. Sam, as always, we appreciate you being here. Mike, you got any final words of encouragement or anything about reselling that you want to drop?
No, I mean, I think we covered a lot today. I appreciate you guys having me on. It was fun. I always normally at this time I'm watching Lurkin while I'm packing.
Yeah.
Because I'll pack like I kind of try to pack twice a day so I don't get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And get up in the morning. I'll maybe pack whatever sold between 10 o'clock the night before, and then try to get a jump on it. And normally I'm watching you guys, and then Tuesday. Tuesdays I always want to jump in, but it's my day job. You guys would be packing, and you guys could watch me like maybe do programming or something. But maybe I'll jump in one day. And
we have. That's why I always put it in there: listing or loafing.
Yeah.
I was like, because sometimes we have a lot of loafing going on, and I try to work regardless. But man, I've got distracted a little bit lately. Sometimes in there.
Yeah, it's funny. Sometimes I've had I'll be on a conference call and it's not even my turn to, sometimes if you're on with like 5 or 6 people, you put on mute while someone else talks.
Yeah.
And then one day I was watching you guys and I'm watching you guys. There's like 4 of you on and I was on mute and I wasn't paying attention to my call. And then somebody asked me something. I was like, oh, crap. I had to turn the volume down real quick because I was watching your channel and sit on my call. And my wife's like, what are you doing? She's like, are you working or are you screwing around? I'm like, a little bit of both. It's Tuesday. It's lifting and loafing day.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I'll jump in on a Tuesday.
Yeah, actually, man, this Tuesday we got Tim over the years going to be hanging out with me most of the day. So that'll be awesome. He said he actually took the day off Monday from his auction. So normally he's shipping like 50 items. So he's doing that all day. But he's like, I'm actually going to be on listing with you Tuesday. So that'll be a good time for sure. Always enjoy hanging out with Tim. But like I said, Mike, once again, we appreciate you coming on, bro.
Yep, thanks for having me.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing what happens in the future out here on the OBX.
I can't wait till we remember. I'm planning. I thought I was going to go home around Christmas, but I'm probably not going to because it's like a freaking hot zone in Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
So I really am going to miss my family. Last year I went home, but I'm probably going to be here. So maybe that week.
Yeah,
if we're going to be around. We can maybe head west with an empty truck and hopefully come back full.
Yeah, we can make a run. I know if we get out 95 way, there's some stuff for sure. And then just past that, obviously, into Raleigh. But, that sounds like a plan. But I'll be reaching out to you.
Have a good night, guys.
Before you
All right, man.
All right. Thank you, everybody else, for coming on the show.
Everybody.
We will catch you guys next time. You can check me out on Tuesday. Next Friday, we actually have Jeff with eBay Addicts coming in. So come on out for that. We will see you then.
Peace.
Later.